Bet you weren't expecting me to cover this, were you? And let me tell you, I never expected to do as well. But we just can't get enough of Red Dead, can we? And let me tell you just how cathartic it was to be back in the saddle playing this game again. It brings me back to not only what really kickstarted the growth of this channel, but also to when I was a kid and played through the first time. The nostalgia always hits hard with this game, and it's a rare thing for a game to live up to the rose-colored glasses. Red Dead and even Undead Nightmare do exceptionally. Love in the Time of Plague is reference to the novel Love in the Time of Cholera. The main fun being had is the play on infections taking place during both stories, and the difficult love found in John's life and the principal character's life in cholera. My favorite reference is towards the end of the story. A character named Urbino dies, and who else dies at the start of this game that starts with a U? Unintentional or not, it entertains me.
After months away, John Marston has returned to his loved ones.
Undead Nightmare takes clear inspiration not just from B-horror movie plots, but greatly from horror movie classics from the 70s. Over-the-top scoring and the creepy narration to set the stage. The opening narration also gives the feeling of a campy Saturday morning cartoon like Goosebumps, where we know that its horror elements aren't really there to scare us.
He ponders whether a man can ever escape his past.
I surprised myself with just how much thematic and narrative content that lies in Undead Nightmare on analysis. Many people write off this story just as some B-movie fun, but I think there is a lot more here than meets the eye. John's struggles of the entire Red Dead timeline are interestingly highlighted at the start of this game. This struggle he has becomes illuminated in every character we interact with throughout the DLC, escaping one's past. Even when the world has turned over into hell, we see everywhere that not a single person has changed who they were. The outbreak only enhances what was already there, which makes John's end even more heartbreaking. And this DLC, if everyone's characteristics are turned up to 11, then we really see that John has completely turned a new leaf and put that life he lived with Dutch behind him. John is the most stand-up dude in this DLC. Hell, maybe the only sane one.
That his mother swears like a sailor and sews like a blind man.
Man, Rockstar, I know it was only 6 years ago you gave us the masterpiece that was Red Dead Redemption 2, but like, could you do it again? Right away, I'm drawn back into this world and want more of it. Just the little detail of Abigail not being the best sewer, given her time on the road with the gang. It's the little things I love about this series.
When you've finished your university education and are far too good to even acknowledge my existence when we pass on the street.
And this is even more sad, knowing how Jack ends up. The system that he was following so closely, failing him, to only create the very thing they sought to destroy. Wait, shouldn't I be winning the DLC and not more retroactive wins for Red Dead Redemption? I just can't help myself.
That used to be my dear old potty-mouthed mom. Maybe I should bother to kick her harder.
He's acted just like them government folk, threatening to apply the whip more liberally in the name of civilization with one hand and using the other to kick up their dirty boots. They're all hypocrites. Dutch was right. Team Micah all the way. Please don't come for me. That's a joke. Ain't nobody like that there, rat.
Funny's going on out there. Damn dogs gone crazy and wolves howling and birds flying.
I know what he means, but I can't help but headcanon that John literally means that birds flying is strange.
Well, it's just the storm, John.
Maybe.
John's instincts have always been sharper than everyone in the gang, right there alongside Arthur, but also gets shut down. I guess some things never do change.
Hope so.
It's just so much. I imagine every time Rockstar asked themselves if something ever was with this DLC, they just decided to push down on the gas pedal more.
Either that or I ate something funny.
Because, like, zombies.
It's kind of dumb.
That should suit me just fine.
And always the most self-aware, a trait many will be lacking in this DLC.
Times how Aztec warriors worship the sun, but during full moons, some of them worship the moon instead.
Jack's reading here foreshadows quite directly the cause of the zombie outbreak, with him discussing the Aztecs.
That leaves him all alone. So anyways, since there ain't no cure, the brave man has to kill everybody.
And also directly what John has to do throughout the game. Dude puts down a lot of old friends and enemies throughout.
Involved is, there's this one guy, and he goes out in search of
Man, this was so powerful to me. It doesn't matter what he's saying. Not really, but it's just that connection with his son that he's always wanted. He's finally getting it. On top of heading in the direction that John and Abigail always wanted for. This is just a testament to how good John's story is, that this one moment in a silly DLC can conjure so much feeling in me. It's been like 2 years since the RDR1 video, and I'm still right here for it. Hey, there's that full moon Jack was talking about. I've seen some criticism about the DLC with Ayatioto coming out of nowhere at the end being the cause of the zombies. That's because in classic Rockstar fashion, they don't spoon feed us. They expect us to put things together on our own. They tell us exactly from the start how this starts.
Crazy old bastard!
John's zero hesitation to murk Uncle floors me, as I'm imagining John was just waiting for an excuse. Keeping up with the classics, woman trips on nothing and gets eaten. Finally found that cure for lumbago you've been looking for, Uncle.
I can't believe I had to kill that poor bastard.
And I can see that you feel terribly about it. Despite what I said about this DLC not trying to be overtly scary, Rockstar achieves a real unsettling feeling in me. The way these zombies sound as they are more possessed rather than from the dead, which they all are, creeps me out so much more. It feels more akin to The Exorcist than 28 Days Later, which for me, demonic possession beats any day of the week as we are ill-equipped to deal with the supernatural.
Now, I don't know what the hell's gotten into you sick, crazy bastards or what Uncle's done to you, but...
John calling everyone a bastard is not something I knew I missed and needed in my life.
Jack, be kind to your mother. Abigail, teach the boy right from wrong.
John is our straightest man that could stray, taking something we are intimately familiar with and throwing it at characters to which it is completely foreign to, turns it all just the silliest thing at every turn. The new yellowish-green aesthetic of the DLC is just perfect, especially Zombie Marston as the game cover. Bringing zombies into the Wild West feels as fitting as Dutch having a plan. Little detail McDougal saying unclean. It seems he was trying to make a cure, but we know better with this guy.
I'm a man of science, a man of great learning, a thinker, a wise man, and I'll be honest with you, sir, I haven't got a clue.
Did you ever in the first place, friend?
Band together and find a cure. Or fight to the death trying.
John kind of speed runs all the classic rigmarole of the zombie outbreak, so we can just get to the wacky stuff. I appreciate a man like John. Practical, pragmatic, self-proclaimed dumb.
I'm going to wander down that lonely, deserted street and get my bag.
Oh my, I wonder what is about to transpire. Many of those deserving in this DLC are destroyed by the outbreak, and by the end, John is the only one to come back with part of his soul. There's some theme in there about the Lord punishing the wicked and John being the second coming and all that. But let's just keep the discussion on the comeuppance of McDougal dying by the hands of those he oppressed and discriminated against for now.
Come out. I don't bite. Bad joke.
John took my win from me.
So my mama ripped my daddy's face off and drink his blood. And they were happily married 20 years.
There seems to be a little left of the person in these zombies, so, you want to bet they were happily married, miss?
If a woman spoke at her place, he reminded her of it and everything.
See what I mean about the living getting their due justice by the dead?
But you said your mother was dead.
Yeah, her and Mr. Braithwaite.
Braithwaite? Oh, don't get me started on them. Give me Red Dead Redemption 2 Undead Nightmare now, Rockstar. Let me put Micah in the grave again. Or have Undead Arthur and him team up in some sick concoction of a story.
You see my Uncle Mordecai? Burn him. Burn him real good, you hear?
For those of you who missed the subtext on why she wants him burned angrily, let me ask you, what's worse than ants in your pants? Uncles.
I'd or get eaten by some creature sent straight from hell. Thanks for asking.
I'm kind of sorry I did.
I can't win everything John says, so let me just say now, everything he says is gold and leave it at that.
It was just some satanic demon's lunch because of the goddamn government.
Undead Nightmare takes a more GTA approach to its storytelling. Whereas the main RDR narrative takes itself much more seriously, here in Undead Nightmare, we get full-blown satire, of which Rockstar is an expert in. People are always quick to blame things out of their control, i.e. the government, for their own shortcomings and failures. And yes, I 100% recognize the double irony behind that statement, as a democratic nation should have at least one hand on the steering wheel of the government.
Well, they let in too many foreigners. Just shut the goddamn border. Or
With that said, I think I know who she's voting for.
I said, Apple, don't cry.
oh, your fault, you useless man.
Oof, John is seeing his life in a mirror right now, isn't he? Notice the girl in the background with her hands together? Whoa, there she is again! How and why did she get over here?
Now pay her!
It seems only as they are getting up in arms and arguing that a zombie comes and takes out one of them. And that girl, I bet she summoned one of them to punish him. You see, everyone gets mad at Far Cry for popularizing the camp clearing nonsense we've dealt with in the last 10 years. But Undead Nightmare did it before it was cool, and everyone still adores Undead Nightmare. But not to say that it aged like fine wine or anything. Undead Nightmare is a masterful DLC because of what and how it was delivered. We got a solid 4 to 8 hours of gameplay for a low cost of 10 doubloons. If you use my favorite metric of judging a game's price by equating its play to price ratio as a movie ticket, then Undead Redemption Undead Nightmare is coming out well ahead. In addition to the great price, you don't even need the base game to play it. And then they offered a whole host of gameplay, new side missions, and fantastically unique story and overall theme to a game that had no expectations of having an expansion, anything close to this. It was really the perfect storm of a DLC, with the cherry on top of it coming out before the microtransaction world went to shit. Back to what didn't age so great, and that is the town clearing. It's fun the first couple of times, but once you get the hang of it and clear most of them out and then have to defend them, it can become quite tedious. Also, the really weak mandatory side quests, and it's a little annoying. But again, for the price and everything else it offers, you just can't beat this package. Seriously dig how all the water is now blood. Just another small detail to add to the overall atmosphere of the game. Ah, and you don't die, you undead.
What's going on?
We're playing cards. Relax, sit down.
Why can Seth enjoy the company of zombies? Well, in the natural world, everyone viewed Seth as crazy. Now Seth finds himself surrounded by crazy creatures themselves. Of course they get along.
John Marston is scared a little undead creature walking around. Moses wouldn't hurt a fly, would you, darling? Besides, this ain't nothing new.
So much conflict is born out of fear. Everyone but Seth fears these creatures, and it could be interpreted that this is why the zombies are so hostile. They fear what humans could do to them, and vice versa, because they don't live by the same standards or practices, and thus conflict arises between the two groups. The zombies could be a metaphor for the fear the xenophobic of America have for Mexicans in this game, and on a larger scale, just people that are different. Seth even states that this isn't anything new. Seth understands accepting differences in people more than most of us. Or Seth is just a little funny guy, so let's make him dance with zombies, haha.
After all I've done for you, Seth, and I thought loyalty was important to you.
You can't hurt me. Moses, get him. Go.
Yeah.
Get him.
Get me.
And the second Seth is blamed by the civilized folk, Seth tries to recruit those he sees himself in into conflict. Yet Moses doesn't attack, highlighting how quickly we are to turn on each other out of misplaced or conjured fear. This fear stems from the threat of death. Moses doesn't possess this fear as he already gotten that done and over with and knows better than to fight John at the behest of a fearful human.
Who made you, John Marston? Same as made me. Same as made Moses.
I'm either really onto something with the deep subtext of the scene or I've lost all of you. Yeah, oh well. When you're in too deep, sometimes it's easier to swim down. This line to me cements the theme that if we were all born by the same creator or come from the same lineage, then why have so much conflict? Who knew Undead Nightmare was about kumbaya around a fire?
You should go clear the graveyards. Either that, or stop worrying and become one of them.
But that's just one interpretation. Another I like coming from Seth is that if we don't want to become a husk of a human, the horrible, the sinful side of ourselves, then we must fight and purge all of that. Every day, we need to wake up and choose life, or become destitute of it.
This was meant to be my perfect day.
To keep up with that theme, many of the bosses we fight in the graveyards have either committed sin like Mordecai abusing his niece, or those who have become shattered and sold, like Horlick here who was left waiting at the altar. John being our savior in this story puts all of these people to rest. Enough of this pseudo-intellectual shit. Fucking Undead Nightmare is so freaking cool. The way the entire map has been transformed into a hellscape where zombies can sneak up on you anywhere. And Jorge's Gap littered with zombies who have accidentally wandered in, forever stuck in the ditch. I love riding through this every time. It's so satisfying, this entire world, and it's just as good as it was in the original game. Here we have Horlick's betrothed, who died out of hubris. Another sin.
Doesn't seem to have done much good.
Good? 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 Is Dead good? Are you good?
The DLC is named Undead Nightmare, and the last thing Johnny hears about before going to bed is pieces of Jack's book. This DLC has already been deemed non-canon, but I'd like it to be. This is a dream John is having, where all of his subconscious is coming out. It's why those he never respected meet a quick and grisly fate. Why his friends seem quite unbothered or even thriving like Seth is here amongst the dead. Or even why the weird girl keeps appearing wherever John goes. John, ever since leaving the gang, has just wanted to be a decent man and live a normal life with his family. His uneasiness in this new life projects onto this dream where he is tasked with giving to others which he struggles to give himself, which is putting their soul to rest. Why zombies are everywhere, because he's constantly having to look over his shoulder because of the things he's done. It's why Seth asks if he's good. John is trying to figure out that question for himself.
The world's turning, John Marston, and the moon with it.
The zombies are also how John views those who buy into the civilized life, and it's been ingrained in him so terribly by Dutch to reject this idea, and this is how it manifests in his dreams.
Day follows night, and hate follows love.
The Aztec god this curse comes from is Ayatioto, god of mist, smoke, vanity, and fame. Quite apt for John and the gang, as fame and vanity was all that Dutch wanted, and it was always felt as if there was a mist or smokescreen obscuring that goal at every turn. She is characterized by the last ray of sunlight during a sunset, representing the sunsetting days of John and the gang.
The undead, Seth! Don't chase treasure. Don't waste your time searching for treasure and discover only a glass eye.
Seth truly seems like the only free and happy character in this game. He looks crazy to everyone else the way he acts, but it's because he doesn't listen to anyone. He's unapologetically him, for better or worse, which is why he gets so agitated about John trying to tell him what to do. He also understands it's about the journey and not the destination for the glass eye. John deems it a waste of time, yet Seth doesn't look back on it with disdain. Okay, I've given Seth far too much attention, but he is just so weird that it warrants discussion. He's not simple and easily explainable, and when I ask myself the important question as to why with this character, this is where it leads me.
West Dickens' patented tonic.
Leave it to Wes Dickens to try and make a buck off other people's suffering. I wonder if Rockstar is trying to say something about late capitalism.
I'm just trying to make an honest living here.
No, you're not.
I love how John calls it as he sees it.
I'm offering the people hope, John. That's a precious commodity.
Did he know J.R.R. Tolkien?
Well, it wasn't quite what I expected.
Stuff is like catnip to those bastards.
If zombies are people who buy into the civilized life, and Dickens is a stand-in for capitalism, of course the zombies of all folk would be attracted to the useless garbage he's peddling. Yes, I know my interpretations for the zombies flip on a dime, but there is no wrong one. Death of the artist and all that.
And I know I can cure this foul plague.
Okay, back to doing your dirty work, am I?
John turns to what he knows, what he can control to try and cure the plague. It's not until he ventures into the unknown and what he can't control that the curse is lifted. Relinquishing control is a hard thing to do, but sometimes necessary for growth, something John and the gang had to learn the hard way. And there she is again, showing up during the Bigfoot quest. Of course she shows up during the twilight, or sunset, if you will, of the Sasquatch species.
Sasquatch is every place, cowboy.
The Sasquatch are believed to not exist and are misunderstood. Him saying they're every place makes me think that he's not just talking about some big hairy humanoid, but once again a metaphor for uncivilized folk like the gang.
Kill the bastards before they kill all of us!
Again, that fear theme coming in. The Big Ape shows a part of us that we spent many years trying to distance ourselves from. We're not some stupid apes, we're sophisticated, smart, philosophical beings who create spaceships to the moon and buy pussy yeast-infused beer.
You eat babies. Ain't your fault.
We eat berries. We've lived in these hills 1,000 years.
You eat babies.
As funny as John's spurn of the Sasquatch's truth is, it highlights the hypocritical nature of us. Even when faced with the truth, we too often stick to our beliefs to the detriment of those around us. John labeling this creature as just how the government labeled the game, before exterminating them.
If you say so, human.
You tell someone there's something long enough, they'll either believe it or stop fighting it.
I can't take it anymore. Make it stop.
It's why this scene hits so hard for all of us. We all see ourselves in this ape, and this is hot off the heels of killing the last 4 just minutes ago. This is where gameplay and story intersect perfectly, as we just mindlessly killed them, like John did, to then be confronted with this hard truth of what we've done. From the music, performance, and lead up to this moment makes for the most random heartstrings pulled in this entire series.
Get away! Get up!
Rule number 32, enjoy the little things.
Get rid of him, would you?
Why?
Well, because we're old friends.
No.
It wouldn't be a Red Dead video without a hot take from me. John is my favorite character in the series, and yes, that does mean the A-Man is out.
It's not the undead I'm worried about, dear boy. I kind of like them.
Man, the amount of times we hear that in zombie media. He's just finally happy someone likes his product.
They blame me for everything that's happened. I tell you, John Marston, I've been selling health tonics for years, from here to Timbuktu, and never once has there been a demonic bloodlust or the undead rising up. It's preposterous.
People are quick to blame something for that which they don't understand.
Kind-hearted neighbors turned into savage, flesh-eating monsters. This hit? It'll make a fantastic movie.
Who would enjoy that?
What?
What kind of sick person would like that?
Us, John. Us. I feel a little attacked.
Kind sir. The lowest common denominator.
Oh, well, I spoke too soon. But, like, who are we to argue? Is this just commentary on exploitation in the entertainment industry and how artists will take it too far and use them being an artist as a defense? Maybe. Or John was just a little bored and really wanted to see what this guy was cooking. Ah! What is she doing there? This girl just keeps getting creepier.
And it's all the fault of the Jewish, British, Catholic, homosexual elite and their ideas.
Remember when I said that Undead Nightmare took cues from GTA?
Have you ever met a Jewish person?
Thankfully not.
Or a British Catholic homosexual?
Not in my store.
Blind hate seems to be a pretty big theme too. And comeuppance. Karma can be swift. Eli... gay? Eli being fat-shamed? The hell am I supposed to make of this, Rockstar?
What was he doing in the barn?
Just rounding up the undead and keeping them safe so the rest of us can go about our business.
Hey, a little reference to Herschel from The Walking Dead. I guess it's a sin to be stupid? Drew dying trying to do what he believes is right tells me there is no hope for any of us. But if we are to think of these characters as John's subconscious interpretation of them, then maybe John views Drew's good heart as a weakness that will get him killed. Can we just remind ourselves how good the score is for this game? Seriously, even outside of the new, fun, horror-inspired music, we are greeted with the classic bangers. All Rockstar games have awesome mission complete music, and Undead Nightmare doesn't miss.
Coming out of my mouth and a lust for human blood.
John's a hater, but they're still dudes, and Dickens continues to be the best weirdo.
Unofficially, to get the hell out of here before things get even worse. See what we can steal down there.
You know what they say, one man's loss is another man's gain, but with America's track record, I'd say this is pretty much on brand. And even more fitting as this mission is called American Imperialism.
Boy, what are you, yeah?
Oh, John is just so hot. Oh, what?
Oh, come to think of it, I just committed a mortal sin.
Claim self-defense. Always works for me.
John gets the American judicial system.
Their innocence will kill them, which is truly a terrifying reality.
I would not know.
I think maybe you would.
Foreshadowing John's innocent faith in the government that they would leave him alone after they're done using him.
But let us leave the psychotherapy and focus on more pressing matters.
Yeah, she already used up all her abilities giving Arthur a chat a little bit ago. That I missed because I'm a low honor degenerate and you all love to remind me.
It may be so, but it seems he also has the most half-witted friends.
So you know Bill Williamson then?
Why we gotta bring Bill into this like that? So if you guys are inspired to replay Undead Nightmare, which I totally recommend, there is a bug that halts you from completing town safety defenses. If you do an up-close execution or kill zombies too fast, they will lose their heads and you won't be able to progress. To make sure this doesn't happen, ensure you don't do the up-close execution animation and space out your kills to at least 2 seconds between each one. This is what I did and it worked.
Spiritual infections are confusing things, Senor Marston. None of us can hope to understand them properly.
Oh, 100%. The more we learn about ourselves, our minds, bodies, souls, it's always 2 steps forward and 1 step back. Aside from the new mission types, missing people and strangers to help in the wilderness, we've got quite a few new weapons, the holy water, bait bombs, the blunderbuss. All fun new additions to the gameplay to help manage the hordes. This is still a Red Dead game after all, so you'll just end up using your single favorite gun and that'll be that, but they tried! And that brings me to Undead Nightmare as a whole outside of the narrative. Like I mentioned earlier, it really is only a 4 to 8 hour experience depending on how much you want to put into it. There's a couple new mission types, missing persons, and saving strangers, but also the neat mythical creatures in the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse, which we can collect, or hunting weird creatures like the chupacabra, horned goat, and freaking unicorn. DeSanta is at the graveyard that Mother Superior is having the most trouble with. Of course the backstabbing two-faced
Traitorous, cow-hearted, yeasty codpiece
would be causing the stir. Would.
What's a little light cannibalism among friends?
If eating the homies out is gay, I don't want to be straight. I mean, what?
Excuse me.
With Ricketts, I love how casual he is about the entire zombie menace. It's more of just a minor annoyance than the whole world coming down. Dude is too old for this.
How have you been?
Good. Well, apart from my wife and son being tied up and trying to rip my soul clean out of my body.
So Rockstar's main draw for doing Undead Nightmare and not bringing in new characters is because they found it more interesting to place characters we already know and have history with in the insane. This gave Rockstar a shorthand with the DLC to mine them for satire, commentary, or pathos. Arriving and seeing Dickens being Dickens hits different without all the context from the first game. Plus, taking what was a self-serving serious story with the base game and throwing everyone into this zombie outbreak is the most fun juxtaposition Rockstar could have done. These characters don't know what zombies are, so seeing them navigate it is inherently interesting. I know none of us were asking ourselves how John's stupid man Marston would react to the Dead Rising, but now we know!
When I was so fast, you couldn't see me. Well, then you'd know. This is humility.
Humility.
This is my home now. This and this up here.
Ricketts is that dude, and he's proving to be the typical best old man. Happy to live his days where he's comfortable and safe with his memories. I'm curious if that day will ever hit me where I am content to not seek more, so to speak. And the last time we see the lady following us around before the end. What makes it even more creepy is that she isn't even evil looking. If she were, that'd be expected and fine, but the fact that she looks so normal is what's unsettling. This song is Bad Voodoo by The Creeps that was recorded specifically for this game. For one, it keeps the tradition of a Red Dead Redemption game having an amazing song towards the end of the game while riding on horseback. And the song has a great double meaning. The literal one of John facing the undead and heading to Mexico to save the day, but also about his life up until this point. How he's living on borrowed time and foolishly believes that he's going to outrun his fate that was sealed long before he left the gang. Jeez, just one more time with the music. It's so damn good. And for the ending missions, there really isn't too much to say. This goddess got messed up by Reyes' greed, and the Undead Rising is kind of all about hubris and being punished for our greed and misdeeds. And it's why John is the one who puts everything right, as he himself is trying to make up for a lifetime at least. Especially if we are going to go with the interpretation that this is still his subconscious in a dream. They ate the stakes.
I mean, once that boy stopped trying to bite me, everything felt much better.
Well, I only felt better once that mad look left your eye.
There's a confirmation that the person was still in there this whole time. Makes the rest of the game really more f***ed up when you think about it like that. Can you really blame Seth? For once, he had people that wanted to be around him. Plus, he gives us our free roam. The Red Dead Redemption 1 theme goes hard. Coupled with the classic zombie rising from the grave to give us Zombie John. I was grinning cheek to cheek during this. John is given the pale horse of death after his resurrection, basically becoming the Grim Reaper of these lands. Would have loved a post-game Undead Nightmare where his unfinished work is getting revenge on the government that betrayed him. And the game does just kinda end with it feeling a little rushed and unsatisfying, as the cause of the outbreak didn't really have much relevance to pre-existing Red Dead Redemption stuff. Just some god that Reyes with and ruined in the next couple of days. It still is thematically relevant, as it was Reyes who went from revolutionary to power-hungry dictator that caused the outbreak, and the wicked paid. It's just Wild West Rapture, okay? And John is Jesus with a full-on second coming. Red Dead Undead Nightmare, people. I gotta admit, I kinda got lost in the sauce there a bit throughout the video, making mountains out of molehills, but can you blame me? Had it not, this video would have been like 5 minutes. All joking aside, this DLC is freaking fantastic. It's short and sweet and wasn't made to be played forever with some convoluted endgame. It's made to be played once and maybe a couple times years later for a couple hours, and that's it. And I just can't get over that. It's almost weird to play this, as the gaming landscape has changed so much since then. News surrounding gaming isn't even exciting anymore, because it's all just so negative. Layoffs, harassments, corporate mergers, and bottom lines. It's hard to want to keep a pulse on the industry amongst all of this, which brings me back to Undead Nightmare, and how, in a way, it grounded me. It reminded me of how good gaming was back in the past, and that these shorter one-off experiences should get more of our focus, more of my focus. This channel has stayed away from indies, and that is something that is planned to change soon. Hades, Grease, Journey, all will be covered this year, and you can count on that. Undead Nightmare knew what it was and what it was going for, and succeeded with flying colors. I think that's why people still love it to this day, and it's perfect throwback to 70s horror movies, while also reminding us of a simpler time in this hobby we all so very much love. Remember everyone, drive the speed limit, drink some water, and love one another. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to rewatch Red Dead Redemption 1 and 2 videos because I know damn well you've already seen them once, but why not listen to it while you're sleeping? Pizza, everybody.